In her dreams, Ellen had been caught between identities, wearing her old clothes one moment and being fully seen as Ellen the next. People complimented her appearance, noticed the way she moved, how she looked in a dress, and how her voice sounded. It was strange, but comforting, these moments where others affirmed her without question. But the confusion was there too. Why hadn't she seen this part of herself sooner? She opened her eyes, blinking into the dim light. Something had shifted. She wasn't sure if it was clarity or just the weight of everything pressing down at once. The night before had been intense, and the emotions were still fresh. The dance, the conversations, the strange and sometimes overwhelming realizations about the people around her and about herself. She pulled on her robe, brushed her hair, and took a few calming breaths. The mirror showed someone who was still unsure, but no longer afraid to ask questions. Heading downstairs, she brewed some coffee and waited in silence. The stillness of the morning was a blessing. Soon enough, her mom entered the kitchen, lured by the scent. They exchanged quiet smiles and sipped their coffee together. A small piece. Moments later, Stacy and Tracy shuffled into the kitchen. As they walked by, Ellen noticed the subtle smirks exchanged between them. Oh, she thought, a twinge of anxiety tightening in her chest. They sat down, sipping juice, already reliving the events of the dance in excited chatter. Eventually, Gert popped her head in and asked, "Anyone want breakfast?" There was a chorus of sleepy approval, and she retreated to the kitchen. As soon as she was out of earshot, Stacy leaned closer and whispered, "Tracy knows." Ellen's eyes widened slightly, color draining from her face. "Knows what?" she whispered back, trying to keep calm. "Just that something's different." She noticed. "You were glowing this morning." Ellen blinked, unsure whether to feel alarmed or oddly flattered. Tracy leaned in from across the table. "You okay over there? You're eating like you haven't had a meal in a week." Ellen looked down at her plate, piled high with eggs and sausage, and laughed nervously. "Just hungry, I guess." "Sure you're not eating for two?" Tracy teased, grinning. Ellen blushed. "No, just hungry." "Relax," Tracy said with a wink. "A girl has to watch what she eats. Unless she wants to grow a food baby instead of the other kind." Ellen stared down into her plate. She was still trying to figure out who she really was, and jokes like that made it even harder. "Anyway," Tracy continued, "you've got a big day ahead, don't you? I'm thinking a little wardrobe help wouldn't hurt, and lucky for you, I'm an expert. I already know what I'm going to wear." "What are you wearing to church?" Stacy asked, sipping her juice. "The yellow dress and matching shoes," Ellen replied. Stacy raised her eyebrows in approval. "Classy. With the right earrings and maybe a soft lip gloss, you'll totally pull it off." For a brief moment, things felt normal, just three girls sitting around the table, talking about clothes and church and what came next. But for Ellen, it was more than that. Every step forward was a journey deeper into herself, confusing, liberating, and just a little scary. But maybe that was okay. Stacy looked over the outfit laid out on the bed and smiled. "Good choice. We'll help you get dressed. Our special girl has to look her best today, right?" Ellen nodded quietly, knowing this was less about the outfit and more about the conversation they were about to have. She pushed her worries aside and muttered, "Okay." She finished the rest of her breakfast in silence, carefully avoiding eye contact, especially with Tracy, who had been watching her all morning like she was a mystery worth unraveling. After breakfast, Ellen stepped onto the porch to grab the Sunday paper, only to freeze in place as a neighbor walked by. "Ellen? Is that you?" the woman called out, blinking in confusion. Ellen's eyes widened. She realized her robe had flown open, revealing the soft pink nightgown underneath. She rushed back inside, heart pounding, and collapsed onto the couch, pretending to read the paper while trying to collect herself. Before long, her mom's voice called up the stairs, "Girls, start getting ready. It takes time to look your best." Ellen braced herself and headed up, unsure what to expect. In her room, a few items were already neatly laid out on the bed, her yellow dress, shoes, and a slip. But before she could grab them, Tracy took her hand and led her toward the bathroom. "The bath's ready," she said matter-of-factly. Ellen walked in to find the tub filled with warm, rose-scented water. She raised an eyebrow. "Tracy, you're 12. I can run my own bath, thanks." Tracy just gave her a cheeky grin. "Whatever. I get first dibs helping with your hair then." Before things got too awkward, Stacy appeared in the doorway. "Let Ellen have some space. Go brush out her wig. We've got a lot to do before church." Tracy rolled her eyes but obeyed, taking the wig with her. Grateful, Ellen eased herself into the warm bath, letting the soft scent and steam clear her head. For a moment, she felt at peace. Once finished, she quickly dried off and wrapped herself in a towel. Stacy helped hold it in place and then demonstrated the girl way to wrap it across the chest. "There. Much better," she said with a wink. Back in the bedroom, Ellen began dressing. She pulled on the yellow panties and matching bra, fastening them quietly. Next came the corset. She winced slightly. It was tight, and after a big breakfast, maybe too tight. "Let's cinch it in just a bit more," Stacy said, tightening the laces. "We need the dress to zip." Tracy returned, hairbrush in hand. Now dressed herself in a pastel bra and shorts, she helped hold the corset while Stacy adjusted the fit. "On 3, Stacy said. They both pulled gently but firmly. Ellen gasped as the corset tightened. She wasn't used to this kind of restriction. It made her breath shallow, her movements small. Stacy checked the fit of the dress against Ellen's waist and nodded. "Almost there. One more tug." With teamwork, they got it tight enough. Stacy tied the ribbon neatly and smoothed the dress fabric across Ellen's waist. Ellen took a deep breath, as deep as the corset allowed, and looked at herself in the mirror. She didn't recognize the girl staring back, but she didn't want to look away, either. "Take shallow breaths," Stacy reminded, tugging the corset laces one last time as Tracy left the room again. "We need to make sure it fits perfectly under the slip." Ellen gave a small nod, still adjusting to how the corset changed her posture and her breathing. She reached into the dresser to grab the gaff she'd forgotten to lay out. As she stepped behind the privacy screen to change, she winced slightly while trying to adjust everything properly. "This is not as easy as you made it look," she said through the fabric divider. "Trust me, practice makes perfect," Stacy called out with a grin. "Hang on." A moment later, Stacy returned with a cool damp cloth and handed it over. "Try this, it helps sometimes when you're overwhelmed," she said with a smirk. Ellen rolled her eyes and used it to cool herself down. After a few seconds, things calmed enough for her to properly tuck and secure everything. She pulled up the silk stockings next, real ones, not the cheap nylons. They felt soft and luxurious against her freshly shaved legs. As she clipped the garters and pulled her matching panties back into place, Tracy peeked her head back in. "Nice. You're really getting the hang of this," she said with an approving nod. Stacy playfully shoved her. "You're supposed to be finishing your own outfit, not giving a performance review." The sisters shared a laugh before heading to their own rooms to get ready. Ellen stepped into the yellow dress, careful with the lace slip underneath. The bodice fit perfectly, but the zipper? Not so much. She turned toward the mirror, trying to reach, but the corset didn't give her much room to twist. "Need help?" Tracy offered, reappearing at just the right time. Ellen hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, thanks." Tracy gently zipped it up and fastened the hook at the top. "There you go," she said simply. No snark. No teasing. Just support. Ellen picked up her shoes, grabbed the wig and her makeup bag, and started carefully down the stairs. By the time she reached the bottom, her mom was standing at the base of the staircase, adjusting her earrings. "Finally. I was about to come check on you girls," her mom said, then paused as she took in the sight. "Wow, you look beautiful, sweetheart." Ellen's cheeks flushed. "Thanks." The corset took longer than expected. "Let that be a lesson," her mom teased. No second helpings before big events. She motioned for Ellen to sit in the dining room chair and helped pin her wig into place. The brush glided through the synthetic hair smoothly as she worked her magic. She then pulled out the light powder foundation and dabbed it over Ellen's face, followed by a soft gold eyeshadow and subtle glitter to give her cheekbones a shimmer. There. Now get your purse and finish with lipstick. Then you're good to go. Ellen obeyed, pulling out the accessories Vicky had left for her, a gold-braided necklace and matching earrings. Ooh, classy, her mom said, fastening them with a smile. Any mother would be proud to walk into church with a daughter this put together. A few minutes later, Stacy and Tracy descended the stairs in full glam. Their mom gave them a once-over. You all look beautiful, now let's get going before we're late. The girls exchanged looks, nervous, excited, unsure. But they followed their mom out the door, ready to take on whatever the world might throw at them. Ellen's the fashion queen today. Look at that dress. Stacy teased with a grin. The girls laughed good-naturedly, but Ellen just gave a tight smile. This whole day was nerve-wracking. They started the walk to St. Leo's. Ellen had never felt so aware of every step. The click of his heels on the pavement, the swish of his skirt, every motion broadcast something new about who he was trying to become. Or at least, who people thought he was trying to be. Up ahead, a crowd was forming outside the cathedral. Weird. Usually people filtered in quickly to get seats. As they approached, they saw what the commotion was. Stephen. Dressed in a loud pink party dress, shiny patent shoes, white tights, hair in ribbons. He stood awkwardly next to his parents, tears rolling down his cheeks. The outfit didn't fit, not just physically, but emotionally. It looked like someone else had chosen it for him. And not kindly. Ellen swallowed hard. For the first time today, he felt grateful for the care his mom had put into his look. At least she had tried to help him blend in. Stephen looked like he'd been shoved on stage as a joke. Inside the church, people stared. Ellen saw the way eyes lingered on Stephen, and then on him. But the difference was stark. Where Stephen was a spectacle, Ellen was being admired. Complimented. During the service, Vicky sat beside him, sharing her hymnal and holding his hand when no one was looking. It felt like an anchor in stormy waters. After the service, as everyone gathered outside to chat, more and more people came over to greet Ellen. Some didn't even recognize him until his mother gently introduced him. But when they did, they smiled. They were kind. Not mocking. Across the way, Stephen stood beside his parents, shrinking beneath the stairs. I'm glad we're taking Ellen to brunch, Vicky whispered. He deserves to breathe for a while. They made their way to Murphy's, Ellen still adjusting to the sensation of walking hand in hand with Vicky. His cousins teased, but not cruelly. Just like they always did. At Murphy's, the host held the door open and winked. Ellen blushed. Inside, Helen, their usual waitress, smiled at him in a way she never had before. Vicky noticed. Hard. After ordering, Vicky turned to Ellen and kissed his cheek. You've been so brave today, she said loud enough for Helen to hear. Later, as Stephen entered the restaurant with his family, people clapped awkwardly. Some out of kindness, some not. Ellen watched the way Stacy walked over to their table, not to support him, but to provoke. Ellen turned away, not wanting to see Stephen's pain. But he felt it. Afterward, when Gert asked what they planned for the afternoon, Vicky answered. First, some shopping at Just Girls. We've got to finish Ellen's look now that she's officially a fashion icon. Then maybe a movie at the mall. And definitely some lower heels. She's a trooper. But even heroes have limits. Everyone laughed. Even Ellen. For the first time that day, he felt like this might not just be an act, but a beginning.